If today the world speaks my name with roses, cards, and whispered promises, let me tell you something. My story did not begin with flowers. It began with blood and with a decision that could cost me my life. It was the 3rd century. Rome looked invincible. Its armies conquered nations. Its banners ruled the known world. But beneath that power, fear was spreading. Emperor Claudius II needed soldiers strong, ruthless, unbreakable men who would not hesitate on the battlefield. And after watching his troops, he reached a dangerous conclusion. Married men did not make good warriors, love made them hesitate. Love made them want to come home. So he did the unthinkable. He banned marriage. Yes, love was outlawed. Weddings were canceled. Engagements were broken. Young men were forced to choose between the army and the altar. Couples said goodbye without blessing, without sacrament, without hope of standing before God together. Love was declared a weakness. But I serve Christ, and Christ never called love a weakness. I remember the first couple who came to me. They arrived at night, cloaked and trembling not from the cold, but from fear. He was a young soldier. She could barely hold back her tears. He was being sent to war within days, and they wanted to be united before God before he left. They knew the risk. If we were discovered, he could be executed, and so could I. In that moment, I understood something that would define the rest of my life. When earthly power forbids love, obedience to God becomes rebellion. That night, by the light of a single candle, in a quiet hidden room, I joined them in holy matrimony. No music, no guests, no celebration, only their shaking voices, their intertwined hands, and the unseen presence of God. When I spoke the words, "What God has joined together, let no man separate," I felt heaven itself listening, and it was not the last time. Soon more began to come. Young soldiers, secret fiancés, couples desperate to seal their promise before fate tore them apart. I married them in catacombs, in gardens before dawn, in hidden chambers where whispers replaced wedding hymns. Rome slept, but love awakened. We needed a way to recognize one another without suspicion. So I began giving small flowers from the garden to the couples I blessed. They were simple, nothing extravagant, but they carried a message, even in times of persecution. Love still blooms. Before long, people began calling me the priest of love. But I was not defending romance. I was defending covenant. I was defending sacred promise. I was defending the reflection of Christ's love within marriage. And any flame that burns brightly will eventually be seen. The rumors reached the palace. One night, there was a knock at my door. Not an angry crowd, not chaos, just soldiers, silent, precise. They entered while I was blessing another couple. No shouting, no argument, only a sentence spoken with cold authority. By order of the emperor, you are under arrest. The young bride began to weep. One of the soldiers lowered his eyes. As they led me through the streets of Rome, I felt something unexpected, not fear, but peace, because I knew something Claudius would never understand. You can imprison a body, but you cannot chain love. I was brought before the emperor himself. Claudius II studied me with curiosity rather than rage. He wanted to understand why a priest would risk execution to unite lovers. He accused me of weakening his army. I told him a man who loves is not weak, he is courageous, because he has something worth living for, and if necessary, something worth dying for. For a brief moment, I saw hesitation in his eyes. But Rome does not tolerate defiance. I was sentenced to prison, cold, walls, heavy silence, darkness that seemed to press against the soul. They believed confinement would break my resolve. They believed isolation would silence my faith. They did not know that faith grows stronger when everything else is stripped away. And it was there, in that prison cell, that something happened, something no emperor could control. Something that would forever change the meaning of my name. The jailer had a daughter, and she could not see. Prison is not only a place of chains, it is a place of silence, and in silence, The soul is exposed. The jailer who guarded my cell was not a cruel man. He was disciplined, loyal to Rome, hardened by duty. He did not mock me, nor did he mistreat me, but I could see it in his eyes' weariness, a quiet burden he carried long before I ever entered the prison. One day, he stopped in front of my cell longer than usual. He studied me as if trying to understand what kind of man would risk execution to marry strangers in secret. Then he finally spoke. "They say your God performs miracles." It was not sarcasm. It was hope struggling to survive. He told me about his daughter, young, gentle, brilliant beyond her years, but blind since birth. He had taken her to physicians, to pagan temples, to priests of Rome's gods. Nothing changed. Then he looked at me not as a guard looks at a prisoner, but as a father looks at his last chance. "If your God is real, give her sight." It was not a challenge. It was a plea. He arranged for her to visit me. The day she entered the prison, something shifted. She walked carefully, guided by her father's hand. Her eyes did not see the world, but her face carried a quiet light that surprised me. She sat near the bars of my cell and began asking questions, not about power, not about spectacle, about God. "What is he like?" she asked. So I told her. I told her about a God who does not conquer with swords, but with sacrifice. A God who sees every tear. A God who allowed himself to be crucified out of love for those who rejected him. I told her about Christ. She listened as if she were seeing something for the first time. She returned day after day. We spoke of faith, of eternity, of hope beyond suffering. And slowly, the darkness of that prison began to feel less heavy. One afternoon, after her father stepped away for a moment, she said something that pierced my heart. "I cannot see the world, but when you speak of your God, I feel light." In that moment, I understood something profound. The greatest miracles begin inside the soul. But I also knew her father was waiting for something more. That night, I prayed as I had never prayed before. I did not ask for my freedom. I did not ask for my sentence to be lifted. I asked for her. If it was God's will, let her eyes be open not to prove a point to Rome, but to reveal his glory in the midst of darkness. The next day, when she returned, I asked her to come closer to the bars. I placed my hands gently over her eyes and prayed. No shouting, no drama, no spectacle, just faith. Silence filled the prison corridor. Then her breathing changed. Her hands began to tremble. Her eyelids fluttered slowly. She opened her eyes. She blinked against the light, reached for her father's face as if discovering it for the first time, looked at the stone walls, at her own hands, and then she looked at me. "I can see," she whispered. Her father fell to his knees. He did not shout. He did not celebrate loudly. He wept. That day, the jailer who guarded my chains gave his life to Christ. And not only him, his household believed as well. The miracle spread in quiet whispers through the prison corridors. Some guards began to look at me with reverence, others with fear. But in the palace, the news did not inspire wonder. It inspired alarm. A priest in prison was manageable. A priest performing miracles was dangerous. Pressure mounted quickly. I was ordered to renounce my faith, to offer sacrifice to the Roman gods, to swear loyalty to the emperor above all else. All I had to do was speak a few words, and I would live. But I had already chosen my allegiance long ago. I would not betray the love I had defended with my life. Soon after, my sentence was finalized. Execution. No more uncertainty, no more negotiation. The date was set. The young woman visited me one last time before the end. She no longer walked hesitantly. She walked with confidence, her eyes shining with the light she had once only imagined. She told me she was not afraid anymore. That if God could open her eyes, he could open her future. Before she left, she asked me for something. "Write me a message," she said. So I will always remember. That night, in the dim light of my cell, I wrote a simple letter. Not filled with fear, not filled with sorrow, but with hope. I reminded her that love is stronger than death, that faith outlives empires, that what Rome tries to silence, heaven multiplies. At the end of the letter, I signed it with words that would travel far beyond the prison. From your Valentine. I did not know then that those words would echo through centuries. I did not know that my name would become a symbol. But the final act of my life was still ahead, and Rome believed it would be my end. They were wrong. Perfect. Here is part 3. The final and epic conclusion, written cinematically, emotionally powerful, and crafted for strong narration impact for a US and global English-speaking audience. The morning of my execution arrived quietly. No thunder, no trembling earth, no sign that history was about to shift. Rome woke up like any other day. Merchants opened their stalls, soldiers sharpened their blades. Citizens walked the streets unaware that an empire was about to make a fatal mistake. They believed they were ending a rebellion. They were about to ignite a legacy. The guards came for me at dawn. Their armor echoed through the corridor as the cell door opened. I stood without resistance. There was no anger in me, no panic, only clarity. When you give your life for love, fear loses its power. They led me through the streets. Some recognized me. Some whispered. Some looked away. The jailer walked at a distance, his daughter beside him. She could see the sky now. She could see the light of morning, and through tears. She did not look broken. She looked strong. That was the miracle Rome could not comprehend. I was offered one final chance. Renounce Christ. Offer sacrifice to the Roman gods. Swear loyalty to the emperor above all else. One sentence, and I would live. But what is life if it demands you betray truth? What is survival if it costs you your soul? I had united countless couples in sacred covenant. I had told them love was eternal. That promise was holy. That faith was worth everything. Now it was my turn to prove it. I refused. The sentence was carried out swiftly. A sword raised under imperial authority. A crowd watching what they believed was justice. Steel flashed, and Rome thought it had won. But empires misunderstand. Something eternal. You can silence a voice. You cannot silence a message. My blood touched the ground, but my conviction did not die there. The jailer's daughter would tell the story. The couples I married would tell their children. The Christians of Rome would whisper about the priest who chose love over fear. Years passed. Empires shifted, persecutions rose and fell. But my name remained, not because I sought glory, not because I desired remembrance, but because love leaves a mark that power cannot erase. Centuries later, believers would honor the day of my martyrdom, February 14th. A date once meant for execution became a celebration of love. Flowers were exchanged, letters were written, promises were renewed. Many would forget the prison, many would forget the sword, but the essence remained. Love is not weakness. Love is not distraction. Love is not rebellion against strength. Love is the greatest strength of all. The empire that condemned marriage has long since fallen. The sword that ended my life has rusted into dust. But every time someone chooses commitment over convenience, faith over fear, sacrifice over selfishness, the story continues. So when you hear my name spoken on a February day, remember this: I did not die for romance. I died defending covenant. I did not defy an emperor for emotion. I defied him for sacred love. And the truth Rome tried to execute still stands unshaken. Love is stronger than power, stronger than fear, stronger even than death. And that is why my story lives on. If you were moved by my story, imagine the secrets, the struggles, and the miracles of countless other saints waiting to be discovered. Stories of faith that defied empires, courage that changed history, and love that never dies. Subscribe now to journey deeper into their lives, witness their suffering, their triumphs, and the miracles that continue to inspire the world. Don't miss a single story. Let the saints guide you through courage, devotion, and divine wonder.